call was to buy a house in Maryland. I called a New Jersey realtor, right? And we have that ability to do that. Now being in the business and seeing how that kind of works. So one of the most important things when you're dealing with an agent, right, is how you get along with them, right? You're going through a process where you're looking for a house that you're going to be living in, and in order to help somebody out, you really got to know a lot about them, right? And they sort of have to trust you.
Yeah, know, like, and trust, right?
Know, like, and trust.
Yeah, you always want to have that sense of comfort, because last thing you want to do is just have some random person you don't know anything about show up at a door that you've never been to, some other person's house, and you have to automatically assume that, okay, it's not stranger danger.
Right. You are taking a big risk when you go out there. On both sides, right? The client and the agent too.
That's very true. But then some stories we can talk about a little bit later, maybe.
Some real good ones. Yeah, I'm sure. And so it's definitely important to sort of get that out of the way and make that connection right off the bat, right? Mm-hmm. And how do you feel is the best way for you to sort of either warm someone up? Because there are a lot of different personality types. Some people are just open and ready to, get involved. And there are some people that are reserved, and some people that are small talk, some people that are all business. Mm-hmm. What's your sort of approach?
So I guess it really depends on, are you talking to me as the realtor, or talking to me as a buyer or seller? Because I know what I did when I first bought my house way before I became a realtor, what I went through, versus also there's a different process I go through now, because at the same time as a realtor, it has to be a two-way street here. You have to be comfortable with me, and I have to be comfortable with you.
Right.
Because it's not going to work out if we're butting heads and it's just, we're not agreeing to anything. So I can tell for me, as a realtor, if I'm going to be helping you out, I want to do what I can to make you feel comfortable, set your expectations up front. And I like to be that high energy a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
It's exciting. This is a big investment, the biggest of your life. And I want to make sure that you have all the information we can to make a great decision. Ask a lot of questions. I want to get to know you.
Right.
Honesty is key, full transparency. So first thing I always tell anybody the first time I'm meeting them at a house is, hey, this is not my house. If there's something that you hate, let me know that you hate it, because it's not going to hurt my feelings.
Right.
And if there's a recording audio device in the house, which is illegal, but if there is, they shouldn't, let their feelings get hurt anyway.
There's nothing they can do with that information anyway.
Yeah,
legally.
Exactly. Legally. It's all subjective.
That's right.
So it kind of breaks the ice a little bit, and then typically, ask questions along the way, and it kind of helps build some rapport a little bit.
Because you have to be that, you have to have a personality. You have to, what I mean is the personalities have to sort of go together. You have to be, you want to enjoy the time that you're spending, but at the same time, you do have a job to do, right? There is a structure, there is a plan, so you have to sort of be that friend, but at the same time, that leader in that leadership role.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah. In episode 1, we talked a lot about buyer consults, and this really, that is the most key thing, because it goes back to, let's meet in person before we go out, because I want to make sure that you know and trust me, and at the same time, I want to make sure that I am there to help you. I'm the person who's going to work for you.
Sure.
Which works best for me, because it works best for us, because if somebody doesn't work out for me, then I can just send them over to you and be like, you'll be perfect for Biaggio. So that way,
Totally.
It's benefits of working on a team.
Right. Knowing what vibes are going to work with certain people, and they're totally... and being versed in each of the different personality types, and knowing, how to approach one situation with one type of person. And this type of person he's an investor in the numbers. It's all about the numbers. And, he, in terms of countertops and cabinets, and that emotional connection isn't going to be there. And knowing how to get that know, like, and trust from as many different people is going to be sort of a key to success, right? Yeah. And being able to reach as many people.
Right. This is why I think it's so key and important too, as also a buyer or whomever, whatever. Right. I think just, again, word of mouth and referrals is huge. So as a realtor, if you're listening to this, you want to make sure that you are connecting with your clients after, the sale is done. You're not just there to make a sale. To me, I try to make a friend if I can. I want to have someone I can call, because we do all these great things on our team. All the events, everything, the Popeyes, all the cool stuff.
The Christmas party, was
the holiday party.
There.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to make sure that I stay in touch with them, because referrals are everything, because that's what gives me a lot of my business. And circling back to my experience of buying a house way before I became a realtor was word of mouth. I called 2 people. The first person I called, my friend had a great experience with her. She was like, she had a high energy. We loved her.
Yeah.
Gave her my, they gave me her number. So I called her. No energy. I don't know what happened. Like she picked up had like maybe a 30-second conversation. Never heard from her again. I called Brad back. I'm like, dude, what's going on? I was like, your girl, she failed.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do next. And then my brother introduced me to his realtor that him and his my sister-in-law used to buy their house, and he was great. Like I had a great experience. Had a long conversation, set my expectations because he made sure that I got approved first, so we knew our qualifications. Because before I met Travis, first time home buyer fresh out of college, I was looking at like $250,000 houses, single family. I can afford that.
Right.
And then I learned real quick that I was nowhere near affording that. I was just like, oh, I'm approved for 165. Okay. And I'm like, luckily back then I could have 165.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. Back then I could get a single family house for 165, 3-bedroom. It was still great.
Sure. Now it's kind of funny that, you bring up, you got along with one, the other one, it just really didn't hit it off. Like, how do you feel that is? Like, I guess, who do you feel like you get along best with? Like, what is your vibe? Like, who are you? We know you're a realtor. We know kind of like, tell us, I guess, a little bit about you, your story, and kind of what makes you you, and how do you feel that meshes with certain different types of people?
Thanks for asking. So who I am is I've been through a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've moved a lot. And I remember my process whenever I bought my house. I mean, I went down to like having problems with my neighbors. I've had problems with the HOA. I've had problems with issues with the house itself, and then there was flooding, and then dealing with the HOA again. So I've had a lot of experiences to where I like to use that to help others because I'm there for them. I'm not there to make a sale. I'm there to make sure that the house that we get you in is a great investment, and if there's anything specific we need to know about, I'm going to look for it before we even write an offer.
Sure.
I'm not a licensed home inspector. I'm, not a contractor, but at least we have an eye to like point some stuff out that we should probably look into.
It's those extra experiences that you had,
Right. Yeah, because I know I do not, like, if you haven't dealt with a flooded basement, Biaggio, I don't recommend it for anybody. Because imagine, you're a weekend away, you're coming home, it's just rained all weekend, and you go down to your basement, and it's over your, like, 3 feet of water in your basement, and takes you from August to February to get that resolved. It was a very long, terrible process.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to keep an eye out. Like, some pumps, is there water damage? What is there just evidence of something that could possibly happen?
Right. And that's part of like you sharing your experiences and helping these, and that's kind of the fun of it, right? You're not making a sale. You're helping somebody, and then you get paid to do it, which is a bonus, right?
Right.
Because everybody's happy. It is a win-win. It is one of those businesses where you can become a friend with your client through the long term, where they are gonna, who do you feel you've had the best sort of relationships with? Were they people that were like you, or were they people that were like the opposite of you?
Probably most people that are like me, because I feel like you attract, I don't want to say, I was going to say you attract, I guess, like-minded people, but they say like, opposites always attract.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I guess I do feel like I work better with more, not saying like I'm a particular way and I think a certain way, but I feel like a younger crowd, first-time home buyers, I feel like it probably works best with, because I do have some of that energy, and they're excited and they don't know anything about the process of me, informing them, helping them along the entire way to get them to where they want to go. And I still help out like a second, third, fourth-time home buyer, someone who's a little older, has been in the game for a while. It's just a different conversation that I'm having, and me being a little bit younger than, the older, buyers out there, sellers out there, there's a little bit of more of a guard. So that's where having the knowledge, becoming the local expert really comes into play, and showing my value I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, being able to take like kind of that leadership role and saying, here's my experiences, here's, where I can help you out. So
yeah, because somebody, think of that, anybody who's bought a house before, they already know a realtor. And they probably already know a couple friends that are realtors too. Everyone knows a couple. So whenever you're speaking with them, you specifically want to let them know, like, hey, like, you don't need me, but I'm going to make you want to work with me. That's the difference.
That's a great point. Yeah, because if they're showing up and they have a house to sell, they've had a real estate transaction. What was it about that agent that is no longer, they're not working with them? How did that agent maybe drop the ball and lose a client?
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's like something happened there. Like, why didn't you call this other person back? I mean, and some people just don't know. Like, the second the sale closes again, some agents just move along and never ever respond back to that person ever again.
Right.
Some other agents, they constantly send out letters. They do other things to stay in contact with that buyer or seller to make sure that everything's still going good.
Yeah, and kind of the way, you know, with me, you know, when I bought my first house, my agent and I kept in touch with him throughout the years. It was like, once I pick a guy that I trust, or girl, of course, but once I pick an agent or, you know, anybody, a mechanic, once I trust them, then it's like, that has to be my go-to.
That's your guy or girl for the rest of, you know, for as long as you can take.
Because you know them, you like them, you trust them. And if I asked him a question, you know, he got back in touch with me. I was happy with the way he handled the transaction. He gave me enough rope to sort of enough leeway to sort of make my own decisions without reining me in too much, but at the same time letting me see why, if I was making sort of bad decision or if I was going off on a different path, like letting me come to that conclusion. And that's kind of the way that I was on the customer side, where I need to sort of.
Well, that's so because you came from two different areas, and this is where I'm kind of curious to see how that went. Because so what was the process like coming from, you know, selling your house in Jersey, and then you know, moving down to Maryland whenever you did, working with your
difference.
Two different markets, two completely different agents, and then, like, how you guys got connected. What was that process like?
So I was dealing with a realtor, Chris Holmquist, Keller Williams agent, great agent. You know, still friends to this day. I think we bought and sold maybe 6 properties together, and
nice.
I sent him a ton of referrals. So
right, you got to know him, like him, and trust him. Right?
That's
like
it.
He was your guy up there,
and now he really likes me. After I sent him somebody, he got custody.
I bet.
Yeah, and so when it was time to sell my place and move down here. You know, I gave him a call. First call was to buy a house in Maryland. I called a New Jersey realtor, right? And you know, we have that ability to do that. You know, now being in the business and seeing how that kind of works, having that big network. So he was able to get in touch with a local agent, vet them, interview them, and then get back to me and say, "Hey, I have an agent down there. He's, you know, he seems like a real nice guy. I think you guys would get along great. Let me put you in contact with him."
So let me stop you there, because it's great, because you're moving down to an area that I don't know if you knew a lot about Maryland before you took the plunge or the trip down here, but the plunge, maybe that wasn't the right word to use, but but before you came down, like, it was great that your realtor that you knew, like, and trust up there did his homework to find you a realtor down here,
right,
that he knew would work best for you, because he wanted to make sure, I imagine, that you worked with not just some random person down here. You want to make sure that you had a great experience. Right.
I mean, that's a 6-year relationship that he's putting on the line, you know, by going out of his way to put me in touch with somebody. And that could be a make or break. If he put me in touch with someone and I had a bad experience, then he knows that, oh, wow, you know. So I knew that he wouldn't have taken that responsibility lightly, you know. And so when he did put me in touch with the agent down here, everything did go smooth, and me and Chris are still great friends to this day, you know. But that just goes to show you, one transaction 6-7 years ago, and still, if I was moving around New Jersey and I wasn't in the business, it would be him who I would be calling, without a doubt.
And I imagine probably still going to stay in contact with you too, because I mean, you still have, I imagine, still have friends and family up there. Yeah. So I feel like the second that you hear somebody trying to look around up there, then you just refer out, you know, your guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I know, like, and trust him, and if somebody's looking for me, they're going to call me because they know me. But if it's not a market that we can, have access to, what we can do is find a local professional. I mean, we can do that all across the country, right? I think there's 1,200 Keller Williams offices throughout the country.
All over the world. I've had a lot of just friends at college. All my college friends are just all over the United States. And even though that I'm not licensed in other states, I can still, similar situation, help them out, because if they're looking to buy or sell, all I got to do is make sure that they come to me, so that way I can hook them up with a realtor.
Do you find that happens frequently? Like, how often do you have somebody call for a market that's like outside of your?
I mean, it happens, just because I have friends that are looking, like, I'm licensed in West Virginia, so they're like, oh, well, then can you show me this house? And it happens to be like 6 hours away in southern West Virginia. I try to let them know, but I know great realtors down there that's more familiar with that market, because I don't want to tell you something that's inaccurate.
Right.
I just don't know that market, that location, that area to where I just don't want to be able to tell you one thing and it's wrong. So let me get you in touch with somebody that does. Same thing with some friends that are living down in North Carolina. My fiance's dad, they are now looking to move in Alabama, and they're moving to move to a closer beach, like 2 or 3 hours away. So because even though I don't live down there, I was still able to help them out because I know Keller Williams agents in that area that I know could help take care of them.
And then what you're doing is obviously you're reaching out and talking to them, getting to know them and making sure.
Yeah. It's not just hooking them up with some random person I found on Keller Williams website.
Sure.
You got to make sure there's other process, making sure all right, how much business do they actually do? What are those reviews like? Who is on, who's on their team? What are they doing? So that way, again, whenever I give my family, my friends information over to this agent, I want to make sure that they're well taken care of and they get the job done.
Right.
Because, again, at the end of the day, it reflects on me. Because they may never come back to me like, oh, Jason doesn't know any good realtors. He had that experience last time. Why would I go to him? I'll just do my own homework.
Right. Yeah. Or you'd find out when they didn't call you on the next one.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because, sometimes that does happen where you do have that friend that just doesn't quite stay in touch with you. You don't stay in touch with them, and they end up finding somebody else. And then you're asking yourself, well, they knew I was a realtor. Why didn't they choose me? Well, it's because I didn't stay in touch. I didn't call them.
Right.
I didn't know.
It is being that. And, for, I guess, to sort of close it out, what would be one thing you would talk to a potential buyer in terms of that know, like, and trust? Like, say somebody is, out there listening, watching, and, they want to find somebody to work with. How do you kind of feel they should go about feeling out or interviewing their agents that they want to work with?
Right. Always, not just, I wouldn't just say just answer the phone and just meet up with them. Again, it's just do a buyer consult or just an interview over the phone and just kind of see how they're playing out. Because it's just, what questions is that realtor asking you? What's their energy? Are they just answering the phone, figuring out when do you want to go see the house, not asking you why are you moving here? They're not asking you the right questions on, okay, well, what's your process? What are the top 3 things you need in your house? If they're not asking you the right questions and they're just there, okay, all right, well, send me a property and let me know when you want to go see it and I'll open the door.
Right.
Well, that's sure that sounds fine and all, but that's not helping you with anything, because next thing you know, you're seeing a million properties with this person and they're not asking you the right questions. So again, it goes back to, it's a two-way street. You want to ask them the right questions and they want to ask you the right questions.
And they want to be open, and you want to encourage them to be open and honest with their feedback, with their their entire situation. And it does feel like an interview. You're asking all these personal questions. Somebody you don't really know, right? I guess you got to go out of your way to make them feel comfortable.
And at the end of the day too, it still comes down to the importance of utilizing us, because again, if we have friends or family that are moving outside of the state or the area, we can do that for them, because then, that way it just takes a load off their back. We're researching other realtors and other locations for them to make sure that they're going to be taken care of well. So that way, when this agent reaches out or the buyer reaches out to them, that agent's already going to be asking the right questions and getting them set up on the right steps to get them to where they need to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what it comes down to is know, like, and trust. Ask the right questions. Give the right answers, and if anybody has any questions about that, or if anybody wants it, they can contact us. We have our link in the bottom and phone number in the back.
That's right. Yeah. Any questions at all? If you're trying to move anywhere in the world or the country,
anywhere in the world,
anywhere in the world, we have Keller Williams all over the world. So if you are interested in another area location and you do need help with a realtor finding something, you're moving across out of the country, whatever, let us know, because we can still help you out there. And we want to make sure you're well taken care of. So, as always, send us a comment, drop in our DMs, let us know if you have any questions, and we'll get back with you immediately.
All right. See you on the next one.